Hey there everyone, and welcome to a new video showing you the top 5 rarest and most valuable Pokemon cards of all time. This video will go through a countdown of the rarest and most expensive Pokemon cards that are available in the entire world at the moment, and we'll also give you a little info and a bit of history about them too, so let's get straight to it. The Pokemon trading card game has been around since 1996, which was 16 years ago now, and it has come a very long way since then. It was originally released completely in Japan on this date and was only brought to this side of the world in English 2 years later in 1998. Now, it's quite rare for a trading card game to take off so well over on this side of the world, with only a handful really being at the forefront of TCGs in the Western world, Pokemon being one of them. Since the beginning of the Pokemon TCG, there have been incredible events all over the world and cards being created, lost, stolen and reprinted many times, creating what we have now, a small list of cards that are the most collectible and rare ones out there, so let's have a look at them. Let's start with number 5, where we see a set of cards that was released exclusively at a very special event about 11 years ago. This here shows an image of the Japanese Tyranitar half deck, which complemented the already released VS set, and a special version with slightly different card counts was released at the Tropical Mega Battle in 2001, which is the equivalent of Worlds when Wizards of the Coast were in charge of the Pokemon TCG. This half deck contained 30 cards which players could use, if they wanted to, in their Tropical Mega Battle decks for the event, but the difference was that each player who attended received a version of their deck in their native language. This half deck in the image is a very common Japanese version of the deck, but the rarest of the half deck cards from that particular tournament are the English ones, which take our 5th rarest slot. Since Pokemon hadn't been introduced to the outside of Japan for very long when this tournament occurred, and it was held in Hawaii, not many English native players attended, which included the US, which means that not very many versions of these decks were given out. What makes them even more rare is the fact that they could have been used by players on that very weekend, which stunts the value, and on top of all that, there were only approximately about 12 in the world at the moment. However, only 2 of these decks have been shown to the rest of the community, so the rest are still out there somewhere. So a set of 30 cards where only 2 full sets have been seen must carry some kind of value, right? They certainly do, and starting off our top 5 rarest cards is a value of about $5,000 to $10,000 for the English version of the VS series half decks. At number 4, we have a set of cards that were released in a similar way to one of our higher placing cards, since they are related to the Japanese magazine CoroCoro, who are still around today, leaking the latest Pokemon news straight from Japan. Well, CoroCoro are kind of known for doing Pokemon card art competitions where readers of the magazine draw their favourite Pokemon card and winners get their artwork made into actual Pokemon cards. However, in May of 1999, the game Pokémon Snap for the Nintendo 64 had just recently been released, and this time, CoroCoro challenged their readers to take pictures of their favourite Pokemon within the game Pokémon Snap and send them in. The winners would then get their best snaps made into real Pokemon cards. And this is where the value and rarity lies, with these 10 Pokemon Snap inspired Pokemon cards, which were made into the real thing, and a set of each were passed out to the 10 winners of the competition, making this a very unique set, very rare indeed. These 10 cards are a combination of results from 2 separate competitions run in the same May of 1999, with the top row being the first winners from the CoroCoro contest, and the second row being winners of a second competition ran by a Tokyo variety show called 64 Mario Stadium. The thing about these cards is that no one really knows how many of these cards were actually printed. It has been rumoured that there are only 10 copies of each card, one for each of the winners of the contest, which makes them incredibly hard to find nowadays in 2012, 13 years on from when those 10 sets were created. Some have been found and sold and are in the hands of avid collectors, but most remain unclaimed and unfound as of yet. Because of this unbelievable rarity, these cards have sold from anything from around $600 to a huge $18,000 plus, depending on which one and who's buying. I don't know about you, but I absolutely love the Pokemon Snap games, and these cards were a real treat to learn about, especially since they're so rare and so valuable, so much so that they nip in at the 4th rarest Pokemon card of all time. And moving up the list to number 3, we have a set of cards that are only giving out at Pokemon World Championships, so you have to earn them and they're very rare and hard to obtain. These cards are called the number 1, 2 and 3 trainer cards and were given out as prizes at only the most prestigious of tournaments, and they started being given to the winners of the first official Pokemon tournaments in Japan, before Pokemon had even been introduced as a card game over here. The first event that these cards were given out at was the Japanese official Pokemon TCG tournament, which was a 2-day event held on June the 14th and 15th, 1997. These cards were given out as prizes, with number 1 given out to first place, number 2 given to second, and number 3 to third place, so from the off, these cards were already very hard to get hold of. These cards were then reprinted in late 1997 and 1998 at the Lizardon and Kamex Mega Battle conferences, also in Japan, and then reprinted again to be given out at the Tropical and Super Secret Battle tournaments held in 1999. From here, there were various reprints of the number 1, 2 and 3 trainer cards which were handed out at more Japanese Pokemon tournaments, including Neo Roads and the first Battle Road series when it was first introduced. However, in the present, these cards are exclusively given out at Pokemon World Championships for those that place 1st, 2nd and 3rd in the respective age divisions. Each card only has 3 copies made each year, and they are all unique to that specific year, making them an extremely hard card to get hold of and, more importantly, extremely expensive to buy. So here comes the part you came for, the estimated price for such a rare collection of card. It is predicted that purchasing just one of these cards will cost you around $3,000 to $6,000, which is fully dependent on which year you buy them from and which placing card you're looking at. With only 3 copies of each card in existence, these could easily be classed as one of the rarest Pokemon cards in the world, but this is only at number 3, things are about to get more expensive. In at number 2 we have an extremely old card which is also considered to be one of the hardest to get hold of in the world, as they are so old and so few of them were printed originally. The card is a pre-release Raichu and is actually an error card which was accidentally created by Wizards of the Coast when they were in control of the Pokemon TCG. For those of you that don't already know, a pre-release card is a special promo card given out at pre-release events, where you gain access to the latest sets a few days early and enjoy the set. The event is usually a sealed tournament event played purely for fun, and you get a special promo card like this for competing. They still give them out at events today. The card is usually a regular card from the set that the pre-release is about, but is a special unique stamped version with the word pre-release, nowadays with the set logo too. However, when the Jungle set came along, the set promo for it was supposed to be this Clefable card, but a select few Raichu cards, actually from the base set, had become attached beside Clefable on the sheets and was mistakenly printed with the special pre-release stamp. It is rumoured that anywhere from 21 to just 6 are still available to the world and were extremely hard to obtain when they were created over 10 years ago, let alone now. So this card was just a straight up mistake from the original distributors of the Pokemon TCG, and is the rarest error card to date in the game, also one of the rarest cards of all time. The kind of price one of these will set you back is at least $10,000, with some selling for even more, the very few that have been sold that is. This is an extortionate amount of money for a single card, but there are only around 20 or less out there in the world, so they earn their spot at the second rarest Pokemon card of all time. So here we are, number 1. This next card is the rarest and most expensive card in the Pokemon TCG, fetching prices that leave the rest of the list behind. The card is called Illustrator and looks like this. This card was released in 1997, not long after the Pokemon TCG first surfaced, but it wasn't released in a traditional set, wasn't an error card, and wasn't given out for doing well at a tournament either. No, these cards were also exclusive to the Japanese magazine Koro Koro, which was mentioned earlier as they also contributed to our number 4 ranked card. The competition was to design and draw your own Pokemon card, hence the name Illustrator, and these cards were given out as prizes. Out of the competition, it's unsure how many exact winners there were, but it is widely known that only 6 of these remain in existence. From what I found during my research for this video, I stumbled across these 4 images of winners from that contest in 1997, which all look pretty awesome, but suggest that there were only 4 winners, but the amount of winners had never been officially confirmed. For winning the contest, these designs were printed as actual Pokemon cards in a special vending machine set, and were also given a copy of this very rare Illustrator card, which reads, "We certify that your illustration is an excellent entry in the Pokemon card game illustration contest. Therefore, we state that you're an officially authorized Pokemon card illustrator and admire your skill." Other cool facts about this rare card is that it's displayed the word Illustrator at the top instead of the word Trainer, and was also never released in English, as the card game hadn't even made it this far yet by this time of the competition. The set symbol for this card was also displayed as a small pen symbol, and this was the only ever card to feature this particular symbol. The Illustrator card was also one of the very few Japanese promo cards that featured the double star rarity symbols rather than a traditional single star. So now onto the final part of the video, the price that one of these Illustrator cards would set you back if you wanted to get your hands on the rarest Pokemon card in the world. At the moment, these cards are valued at anything from $10,000 to $20,000, with history showing that one has actually been sold for over $20,000 in the past. In history, copies of this card have only been sold 4 times, which is completely understandable considering the rarity and value that these small cards hold. And that is the end of your countdown of the rarest Pokemon cards of all time. I hope that you enjoyed learning about the most hard to find and expensive cards in our current game, and if you did enjoy it, please leave a like, comment down below with what you think about these awesome cards, and hit that subscribe button to learn even more about the Pokemon trading card game. Just before I go, I just want to thank a fellow player, Dan Norton, for helping me with a lot of the information here, and you can check out his Pokemon TCG collecting channel in the description below. Make sure you check him out. Thanks to all of you again for watching, and have a great day.